what it's like to play Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis for the very first time in the year 2024. Do keep in mind though, this is not a review, just the first impressions of a person who never in his life seen or touched this game before, and so after spending a little bit of time in here, here's what a game looks like through an eyes of a new player who is playing this game for the very first time. The game asked me if I want to do a prologue and be introduced to the game mechanics. Obviously I said yes, well, because I'm a new player, and here we go. Let the journey begin. Well, actually let it begin twice, because as I made my way to this city, I had to log out because it was getting kinda late, but when I came back the next day, I had about 15 minutes of my progress removed for some reason, which I find it kinda weird considering this is an online game, so not off to the best start, but hey, it can only get better from here, right? Right? Well, actually yes, in some ways also no, but let's talk about it. First things first, I thought that the world looks absolutely superb considering that this game came out in 2012, so you know, it's a relatively oldish game, and for a game that is reasonably old, I think that the world looks absolutely fantastic. You have these like foresty areas, there are different regions in the distances that look pretty cool as well, some of them I've yet to visit. I love the city designs are awesome, it has this very cool futuristic look to them, I like them a lot. You also have cities like this that are in the middle of the desert that look also futuristic, but you know, this almost Mad Max type of style, look very cool. And obviously you have the desert itself that looks amazing as well, although admittedly at some points it can kind of feel a little bit empty, almost, you know, like there's not that much life around. It's not always, and it's not in every place, but in some places you walk and it just feels a little bit lifeless, like there's nothing but you. And I'm not talking just about the desert. In that foresty area I was walking around, and at some points I was like, there's barely any animals, there's barely any nature, there's almost nothing. So in some places the game can definitely miss a little bit of life in it, but for the most part the world is absolutely fantastic, I loved it. And as you can see, now that the daylight is coming out, it only looks better and better. I don't know what these little two fellas want from me, but they look kinda cute. And like I said, the world only looks better in the daylight. Another thing I liked about this game is the weapons. Some of the weapons can really feel awesome. I love this wire, I think it's just so cool. It has a big range, it looks fantastic, it hits enemies hard. I'm honestly not sure what else could I possibly want from a weapon. But aside from the wires, I also enjoy the spear a lot. It's pretty fast, it has a pretty decent range, and it has quite a lot of damage. Another weapon I thought was kinda cool is the launcher. You essentially just stand there and launch, you know, rockets at their enemies, which is pretty cool. You can even rain fire on them. You shoot the bullet and then it rains down hellfire on them, which is, you know, kind of fun. I liked it. However, not all of the weapons I found enjoyable. For example, swords felt kind of numb and kind of boring, honestly. It's kind of slow compared to some of the other weapons. It has not the best of ranges. Visually wise, it's also not the most fun one. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I'm sure there are more weapons that are pretty cool that I haven't tried yet, but maybe in the future I will. Now the monsters themselves are pretty cool, I like the designs. Some of them are quite unique. Just look at him. That's definitely pretty unique and pretty freaking awesome as well. I love the designs of monsters in this game, really freaking awesome. However, not everything with the monsters is great, although I like their kind of style, I like how they look, I like the uniqueness, you know, this unique style that they present. Unfortunately, I do feel like there's a little bit of lack of them. The variety lacks a little bit. It's like these monsters are pretty cool and pretty unique, but there's almost like only a set bunch of them, and then everywhere you go, it's pretty much the same monster, maybe in a little bit different color, and just a tiny bit different, but for the most part, they're just the same. And maybe there's gonna be a lot more of them in the future. This is just a first impressions video. We'll see where we're gonna get in the future. Another thing I kinda like about this game is just the overall sounds and the music. You know, it's very Sega-like, and I mean, this game is, you know, made by Sega, but it's just so cool. It gives you this early 2000s console vibe, you know, with the music and the sounds and all of this UI and everything, the way it looks. It just makes me feel like I'm playing, an early 2000s Sega game that's a modern version of that. I really like the vibe of that. I thought it was just great. I also thought that the game was pretty well optimized. Aside from this one issue in the beginning where the game kind of set me back a little bit in the progress. Like I said, I don't know why that happened, but aside from that one thing, I didn't really run into any bugs, any stutters, anything really. Yeah, absolutely flawless. Not much to report as far as the technical issues go. Oh yeah, and by the way, I love this thing. I don't know whatever the fuck you call this thing, but it's so cool, man. It's just so freaking awesome. I love this thing. It's the best. Just look at me. I don't know what it's called, but it's so cool, man. It does so much damage. It almost one-shots some of the monsters. I absolutely love it. It has a pretty big cooldown, but whenever you can use it, it's great. It's freaking awesome. I love this thing. It's the best. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this game vibe. Admittedly, I don't think this game is for everybody. If you enjoy console games, if you enjoy Sega games, if you enjoy a mix of those type of games, of maybe an RPG shooter games, or just fast-paced RPG combat type of games, I think you're gonna love this game. It's gonna be fantastic for you. But if you don't enjoy fast-paced gaming, this one may not be for you. Or if you don't like console games, again, it may not be for you because it does have some elements of console games. Although overall I thought the game was great for the most part. Not everything is rosy. There are some things I enjoyed a little less so. Some of them are nitpicks, and some of them I thought just things could have been done better. Let's talk about some of the things I enjoyed a little less. Maybe it's just a nitpick, but for whatever reason, the character itself seems alright, but the faces of pretty much all of the characters are kind of blurry a little bit. I don't know why it's that. Again, it's just a little nitpick, but it just caught my eye. Like I said before, I think the monster variety is a little bit lacking. The ranged weapons are not equally as good. Some feel pretty cool and some feel pretty weird, but the same goes with melee weapons. The sword just feels clunky and not fun, while the spear and the wire feels amazing. As far as the story itself goes, it's a bit, generic. It's, you are the hero and you're here to save the day. I get that every game is, more or less in the same way, but it felt a bit, generic, even for that kind of standard. The combat at time feels great, at time it feels a bit awkward. You're just kind of standing in one place in the middle of an area and just spamming, the first button. So for the most part, I enjoy the combat. I also kind of find it weird how you cannot use your skills when you're attacking. For example, if I attack this monster, and if I wanna press 3 or 4 for my shield, I cannot do that until the game finds a little space in between where I don't attack, or if I just, stop it myself, and then I can use it. And the same goes with healing. I cannot heal, but if I stop, I can heal and then I can continue attacking, which I find it, kinda weird. You can't really move very well in the middle of the combat, and so if the monster attacks you and knocks you down, there's not a hell of a lot you can do. You can dodge it a little bit, but only a little bit, only to a certain extent. So the combat does have some room for improvement. Yeah, unless you use this thing just doesn't really care about anything and it just kills your enemies. This thing is so awesome, man. Swear to God, this thing's the best. Some of the keybinds are also a little bit weird. For example, if you wanna sprint and you press shift, nothing happens. You need to double tap the W, which for one is very uncomfortable because sometimes you just kind of don't press it fast enough and it does, this thing, and then you kind of just need to press a little bit few more times until you kind of get it rolling. It doesn't happen super often, but it still happens from time to time and it's a little bit annoying and it's uncomfortable if nothing else. I don't know why it's not on shift, but that's just the way it is. And that's not the only thing with the keybinds. For example, I thought this game doesn't have a map because when you press M or tab, there is no map. But then when I went to escape, I saw that there is actual map and I was like, that's interesting. So the game does have a map. I wonder what kind of keybind it has for a map. And then I go to settings, controls, keyboard, I find the world map and guess what? It has nothing. This? I just made it myself. It had no keybind. And you would think that the map would be definitely a big piece of the game. Like, I don't understand how the game cannot have a default button for a map. Like, sorry, I just don't get it. And there's like more stuff that doesn't have any keybinds as well, like for example quest info, character info, mail, friends list, And as you can see, many more things do not have any keybind. It's like, why? I'm sorry, but these are important things. Why do I have to make keybinds on my own? Why are they not by default? Especially things like the map. I'm sorry, but there's no excuse to that. And the UI itself, I found a little bit not the best, at least for new players. For example, if you want to kind of equip the items, you need to go into gear here. Then there's plenty of things you can equip, and for a new player, it's slightly confusing, not hellishly, but it takes a little bit of time to adjust. Items as well, I have like a million, billion, gazillion items. I legitimately have no idea what a half of them do. Quests are also, there's like main quests, daily quests, weekly quests, limited quests, and it's like, do I do these? Should I do these? I have no idea. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not worth my time. I don't know, I have no idea. And whenever the game sends me some, a bar of explaining what's happening, it's always just bombarding you with, menus of like, oh, you can do this and that and that and that. And here's the thing, I don't like these, because most of the people will skip them, including me. Here's a better solution for any developer out there. If you want to show me a system and how it works, just make me use the system. That's it. Like this game, for example, in the beginning, it showed me how to double jump through the walls, how to glide, and how to do many other things, and I was like, great, this developer gets it. Like, I try it myself, now I know how to do it, great. I'm a visual and hands-on approach type of learner, and so whenever the game just makes me use the systems, I remember them. Again, though, this is a bit of a nitpick, it's not, just for this game, it's honestly, many games do that. But overall, I thought that the game was great. And I forgot to mention one more thing. I love the gliding system in this game. You can travel quite a lot of distance. It's pretty freaking cool. It's easy to use. You're almost flying to a certain extent. You can double jump and then glide. It's great. I love the gliding. It's freaking awesome. But what can I say, the game definitely left a pretty decent impression for the first maybe like 10-ish hours that I played of it. Now, I cannot and I will not talk about the endgame or monetization and etc. because I'm just not there yet. This is just a first impression video of somebody who tries this game for the very first time. I think it was great, I enjoyed it, I like the vibe, I love the world. I think the world for me was one of the best parts of the game so far, alongside the fast-paced combat. Like I said before, I think this game is not necessarily for everybody. If you like console games, you're probably gonna like this a little bit more. If you don't, you're probably not gonna like this because there are some aspects in this game where you can clearly see it's just a console thing. The game definitely had a few things it could have done better and a few things it could still improve on, but it also did plenty of things well. Will I come back to this game? Will I play more of this game? Well, you let me know that in the comments. Should I make more videos about this game? Personally, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind exploring this game a little bit more, digging a little bit deeper, and eventually making a full-on review at some point in the future. It's fun, it's fast-paced, has a beautiful world, what's not to like about it? But for this time, that will be all, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about this game in the comments, maybe leave a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.